Good day, everyone. This is Juanita Kapp from South Africa, and I'm so excited about this upcoming episode on Meticulous Moments. Of course, we facilitate community upliftment through leadership development, and today our special guest is Kris D Roberts. Welcome, Kris. How are you doing?
Thank you, Juanita. I'm doing great today. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I want to give a shout out to our mutual friend, Eli Jeffrey Zane, for making the connection.
Absolutely.
Eli.
We salute you, sir.
Let's talk. You're a very interesting individual. We had a lovely virtual coffee for those in the audience. And, it really stood out to me that Kris is someone that he pushes through. He's someone that doesn't give up. He's someone that, tries and tries again. And that's why he's successful in what he does. We're also going to be working on a project together. So I want you to, Kris, to tell the audience. I'm so excited about that. To tell the audience about your childhood. I know there were a lot of things that you went through. Let's start with your childhood years.
Yeah, certainly. I'm from northwestern Pennsylvania, originally USA. I was raised in a rural town. Mother and father separated at an early age. I was 3. My mother moved to Southwest Florida. My father remained in Pennsylvania. When I don't know, I want to say I was around 3 years old. I was in a major traffic accident. I had been hit by a Lincoln Continental doing like 45 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So, yeah, from a young age, it seemed, adversity was kind of going to knock on my door. It seemed, I survived that horrible ordeal. I guess I was close to death, obviously. I remember my dad tells me a story where, he picked me up. See, my mother was coming home from work.
Yeah.
And my father and my brother and we were rototilling the garden, growing vegetables and whatnot. And I seen my mother coming down the drive from work, and I'm still in diapers. So I run to see mom. And as I was running to see mom, that's when I got hit.
Oh my goodness.
So anyhow, it took a long time to recover from that. I spent a lot of time in the hospital. I mean, it shattered my jaw, massive head trauma. In hindsight, having survived that, everything else is a cakewalk pretty much, if that makes sense.
It does.
Childhood years were spent, I would live in Pennsylvania for a majority of the time. I would go to school in Pennsylvania. And then when summer times would come, I would travel to South Florida to visit my mother and spend the summer in Florida. And then usually jump on a Greyhound bus. I got some great Greyhound bus stories. That's a whole nother episode. But I travel back and forth, and I had an older brother growing up. And in my hometown, my older brother was like untouchable. He was a street fighter, very well known. So, coming up, I didn't have any flack from anybody because they knew who my big brother was. Okay. Now, fast forward, us growing up together, 12 and 13 years old, we kind of went our separate ways. And then, I grew up on a farm in Northwest Pennsylvania. I had a 5-gallon bucket nailed to my barn for a basketball hoop.
Oh, wow.
I had weights in the hay. I split firewood to heat the house. I elementary school, I'd go check traps with my dad. Saying all that to say, you take a young lad who's already, has already been through a rigmarole. I mean, I remember self-harming when I was a child, just having issues and not knowing what to do, you see. But anyhow, I came to Southwest Florida at the age of 13 with no big brother, no protector, you know, and that's when the bullying began. You know, I began to be pushed around by kids, picked on, you know, and I didn't really know how to deal with it. I know that as I was growing up, I was always the classmate or the friend that was known for standing up against such things. So here I am in the middle of it, you know, and with the past I had a lot of difficulty processing, you know, separations, stuff like that, like a separation anxiety, kind of an identity crisis, because here I went from a small town kid to, you know, more of an urban environment.
Yeah.
Long story short, I found myself in the arms of a street gang. One of the most violent Hispanic street gangs in the United States.
Yeah.
I'll never forget telling my mother I joined a gang at like 16 years old.
Yeah.
Go live with them then. I had put my family through so much. Now, mind you, in my high school years, I was enrolled in local high school, but I didn't go to high school because I didn't want to get pushed around. I was tired of, you know, the bullying and this and that. So I would spend most of my high school years skipping school, running around with the gang, doing stupid stuff, you see. But I felt like I belonged to something. I felt that that umbrella of protection when I hung out with these guys. So
Mm-hmm.
saying all that to say, obviously, I didn't graduate top of my class, or I didn't graduate. I was a dropout, ninth grade, living with a gang. By this time, drug addiction had entered the picture. So I remember standing in line at a homeless shelter at 17 years old. And I was crushed. I didn't know who I was, what I was doing with my life. And at this time, said gang had issued a contract on my life, not once, but twice. The FBI, the FBI had shut down the organization where I lived, that everybody was under investigation. And me being the minority member of the gang, everyone pointed their fingers at me.
Oh,
So
dangerous.
immediately I was labeled the rat. So that cost me a lot of hardship. I had to defend my name. I literally had to run from these people to stay alive.
Yes.
So these guys came down from a big city and they sent scouts. Okay, they sent people ahead, and those people were my friends. I befriended them. They you know, they were the ones that were the big brother at that point in my life.
Yeah.
So when the major gang guys showed up a year later,
Yeah.
I was already in mafia movies. They call it opening the books
Okay.
because of what I had done for their people.
Yeah.
They invited me. I'll never forget it. I ran out and my basketball court had gang graffiti all over the ground that these gangsters painted on it from
Yeah.
up north. And as soon as these leaders showed up from up there, the first thing that gang member said, that was my friend and confidant, was like, "We got to paint that basketball court. We can't have gang graffiti on the ground."
Oh.
I poked my head in the car. I poked my head in the car when these guys arrived, and I've seen guys with like 7 tattoo teardrops, which according to the street means they've killed people. So,
Oh.
you know, I was scared,
Mm-hmm.
but I was under the protection of the guys that were their guys. So yeah, when the time came, again, that term, the books were opened and they invited me in.
Yeah.
And I said all that to say, when the time came, when I turned 18 years old, having been exposed to that lifestyle for about 3 years,
Yeah.
I realized if I didn't make some changes, I was probably going to end up in prison or dead.
Yeah.
So it was at that point I approached the senior leadership of the gang, said, I want out, guys. We've been through this rigmarole together. I mean, I was roommates with killers, you
Yeah.
know, at a very young age, very formidable. I've been in situations I shouldn't have gotten out of alive, you
Yes.
know, that I never asked questions. But yeah, it came time and I was like, look, guys, I want to walk away from this. I want to change my life. They're going to kill me. And this was after the two other contracts they placed on my life
Oh.
prior. Yeah, the gang is a blood in, blood out type thing. You know, you die to get out, basically. However, I was fortunate because I'll tell you what saved my skin. The two guys that I would give money to eat and would help when they were down and out saved my life.
Oh, thank
They
God.
basically told the leadership, this guy's not dying here tonight. And I was blessed out of this said organization, and I went my way. At the age of 18, I left Southwest Florida hitchhiking to Louisiana to start a new chapter.
Wow. You faced all of that. You faced all of that. You know, gangs and drugs and that lifestyle is so destructive in our society, and it's the individuals that are caught up in that lifestyle that I really have compassion for, because it must be such an existence of anxiety and fear, you know, never knowing when someone is going to turn on you, never knowing when something's going to go wrong, or if you'll be in the wrong place at the right, at the wrong time. I've dealt with a lot of youngsters. I was a pastor for 15 years, and I dealt with a lot of teenagers and young adults who had to come out of that addiction, because my specialities are trauma and addiction. When with the spiritual counseling, and it's wonderful and life changing to see when someone gets out of that lifestyle and they get out safely, and they, like you, have the opportunity to tell their story. What would you say to someone that's stuck in that lifestyle, that's watching this interview, because this is streamed globally? What advice would you give them if they just want out?
The first thing I would tell them is there's hope. You know, there is hope. There's many stories that didn't have such a fortunate ending as mine.
Yeah.
I can't explain, I firmly believe in the spiritual principles of the universe. You
Yes.
know, I feel when a person has an honest desire to change, I just firmly believe that doors will open, people will come along, and that's not throwing anyone a rope, really. I'm just trying to convince, there's hope. And when you begin to, for me, when I begin to hit that rock bottom point, and I begin to question myself, and I begin to talk to others, that's another thing. Don't be afraid to discuss things with others. You have to find somebody that you can be transparent enough with, that it's just like networking. If I need help and I'm trying to find help on my own, much better I have somebody like a liaison to help me through,
Yeah.
so I would encourage people not to be ashamed or afraid to speak about it. If there is a way out, there most definitely is a way out. And there is hope. And mind you, it's an ongoing process. That would be another thing I would encourage people with is trust the process, be patient with yourself, firstly, because I don't know about anyone else, but I can be my own worst critic. You have to just kind of take it one day at a time. One
Yeah.
day at a time. I spent a lot of time personally coming up in recovery situations. I I was remanded to rehabilitation in 2005, 18 years ago. When I hit rock bottom, I wanted to change. I mean, I remember crying out to God, wanting to stop, but couldn't. I was like, God, I want to stop this habit. I want to stop this lifestyle. And I was still, even after leaving the gang and whatnot, I still had things going on that I was using the addiction, you know, and it's a process, you know. Be patient with yourself, you know, also celebrate yourself. No matter what anyone says, no matter what anyone says, negative, never the mind. You know, just stay focused, you know, because I think a lot of people allow the noise,
Yes.
you know, the noise around them to discourage them.
Yeah.
You know, turn down the noise, you know, and just, I don't know. I was such a mess when I was trying to get away from that stuff. I mean, but like I said, once I found that desire, it's almost like the universe lined me up with resources and people that wanted to help me, you know, and that in turn helped me. And the biggest gift that I've ever had in relation to all of this, the rehab I was remanded to, I graduated, I worked for 18 months, and then I got hired at the rehab I graduated from.
Oh, wow.
I had the privilege of helping other people rebuild their lives.
Wow.
You know, I've worked with military veterans with substance abuse issues, dual diagnosed patients, ran a halfway house. So having said that to say, I've been fortunate to be able to take what little nuggets I have and help other people along the way. And in fact, that's been even 15 years ago. And, you know, there's times where I yearn to be able to do that again, to help others. You know what I'm saying? So none of it was in vain, if that makes sense, Juanita.
It does, Kris. And I remember when we talked, you wanted to join the military at some point, and it wasn't an option right then. But tell the audience what happened years later, because I found that very inspiring.
Thank you. Yeah, in fact, I was talking to well, first of all, huge military family. Nobody famous or decorated, but everybody served our country, you know. So it was from a young age instilled that I needed to serve my country. So I was in my early 20s, you know, and having explained everything else that happened up until then, I was in a strange place in life. So, but at the same time, I was at a turning point, you know, where I had changed the past and I was going another direction. And I decided, you know, I'm going to go to the United States Navy. Well, long story short, I failed the eye test. And as I was saying, I'm a high school dropout. You know, I'll never forget my Navy recruiter came to me with he printed out a diploma and my name was spelled wrong. So obviously it wasn't my diploma. He was doing everything he could to get in the service, you know. So anyway, he told me, he said, stay ready and we'll get you a medical waiver and we'll get you into boot camp. Yeah. So I sold off a bunch of my stuff, celebration at the beach, because I was about to go to boot camp, you know. The only thing I'd run and ride and swim, and I was trying to stay fit, get more fit for boot camp. And I was on my way home. I'd ride my bike 9 miles in Cape Coral, Florida to the Gulf, and then I'd swim for an hour, get back on my bike and ride home. I was on my way home after a swim one early morning in November, and it was 2001. It was the morning of 9/11. I stopped and picked up a little Yorkie dog. It was a yacht neighborhood, beautiful neighborhood. So I was like, let me get this dog so it doesn't get, you know, injured on the road here. And a little kind lady told me where the dog belonged. So I took the dog and I was about to get back on my bicycle. And she says, baby, did you hear what happened? I says, no, ma'am. And that's when she began to tell me about the attacks of 9/11. I immediately got out my phone and called my recruiter and said, I'm ready. Long story short, the medical waiver never went through. I was permanently disqualified due to my eyesight, which happened by and large from the accident when I was a young toddler, you know. So I'll tell you the truth. That was probably one of the biggest disappointments in my life ever, was to be told I couldn't serve my country. So having said that, I kind of just, you know, I went my way doing various labor jobs, and throughout the span of time, I also have become pretty handy with detailing auto vehicles. I polish paint, so I had always had work. You know what I mean? But it was 2004. A few years later, 3 years later, I still lived in Louisiana, close to Fort Polk, Louisiana. And I had a friend who had an opportunity to come on board with his company, Cubic Defense Systems, out of San Diego, California. That they were a subcontractor of the United States Department of Defense. They brought me on board, and from there we did like OP4 training stuff on Fort Polk. So I would go to work every day dressed in Iraqi garb. We had translators. We weren't allowed to speak English to the soldiers. See, the soldiers would come spend a month with us, and we train them almost to a T, exactly like it's going to be overseas.
Yeah.
And they spend that 30 days with us, and then they'd ship out to war. So it was always, you know, every time I went to work, it was a privilege to me. One, because I wanted to serve my country when the Navy disqualified me. So I was grateful to go for that purpose. But at the same time, I knew that every day I punched a clock, I was able to help, you know, our soldiers prior to going into the belly of hell, you see. So that was a bit of a redemptive time in my life, you know, and I began to see things, you know, a little differently. I was able to look back and look at the biggest disappointment in my life and see how it was turned around.
I love that.
So in essence, you know, the universe, the disappointment was turned into an opportunity eventually. And it's a beautiful thing to look back, you know, and be able to realize there was a purpose, you know.
That's it. There's always a purpose.
Coffee pot. Sorry about that.
I'm having tea. You have coffee. You know, Kris, I call that flipping the script, because I've had to also deal with disappointments and painful experiences, and I am just, you know, that person, and I see that in you as well. Nothing's gonna get me down, and if I decided I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do that thing. See that in you. You flipped the script. There were situations that you should, like you mentioned, that you shouldn't have walked out of. You did. There were things, a lot of things that were standing up against you, that were making your road more difficult than it had to be, but yet you made it to the place where you are today. And I commend you on that, Kris, because there's a lot of people that on that journey, they would give up, and that doesn't make them bad or weak. It just makes them, you know, people that are going through experience, that are going writing those tests and learning those lessons, much like us. And I guess we all get to a place where we sometimes feel we want to give up. And I want to encourage the audience out there. You hear Kris's story, you see what he's been through in life, and we're going to talk about what he's busy with currently as well. Don't you dare give up. If you're in the audience and it seems like your whole life is falling apart, or it seems like you're not going to make it, I guarantee you that if you decide that you're going to make it, you will. And it's going to be painful, and it's going to be messy, and it's going to be, you know, something that's really going to challenge you. You're going to have to dig deep, but you can do it. You can stand up out of that valley, out of that mighty clay, and God will put you on that mountain, like He did with Kris, and like He's doing with me, and like He did with me in different stages in my life, because we go through stages. So I want to ask you, Kris, I mean, through all of that, you are now busy with acting. I saw you were in a video with Jay Wheeler recently. Tell us about your acting project as well.
Well, I started pursuing acting in 2019. But 4 years ago now, I remember I'd answered an ad on the internet for a background actor for a Netflix production, which was filming in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Oh,
So I figured, what the heck, I went ahead and entered my info. That was about 3 months later. I got an email saying, "Hey, we selected you. Come on down to Pittsburgh and be in this film for a couple days." So
good.
yeah, I was elated. I was elated. At the time I was working as a lead auto detailer at Allegheny Toyota in Franklin, Pennsylvania, and I remember approaching my boss. He must have thought I was some kind of crazy. He was another guy that was convinced that I could get things done.
Good.
But I remember, they were gracious and they said, "Sure, go for it, chase your dream." And I was like, man, that's awesome. These guys are, I had no idea what it was like to work in film. This was my first ever gig. So I was very excited. I went ahead and rented an Airbnb for the weekend. I went to Pittsburgh. They were loading us all up on coach buses and transporting us to PNC Park where the filming took place. If you've seen the movie Sweet Girl, PNC Park and the Roberto Clemente Bridge, those are the
Momoa.
scenes I was involved with.
Jason Momoa, Sweet Girl.
Yes.
Oh, I watched that.
Yes.
That's exactly what you're talking about. Oh, wow.
That was my film debut. And of course, like I said, I was a background on the project. But it's
Fantastic.
funny because I showed up to casting, and I'm this guy. As I'm signing up as background, I'm hearing chatter about this featured person is late. They're not here. And I see everybody's frantic. So as I'm signing up, I'm like, hey, I'll be something, use me in another position. Pick me up, I'll go from this to whatever you need me to be. So, from the first time boots were on the ground, I was reaching for more,
Fantastic. Yeah.
So after that weekend, I mean, it was fabulous. It was a great time. Netflix, shout out. They know how to put on a production.
Yes.
So anyway, I went back home, and looking back now, as any actor could probably relate to me, what I was feeling was a bit of a withdrawal. Because once you're on a film set, especially one of that magnitude, I'll be honest, I was in awe of everything. I even had a conversation with Jason Momoa and some of the other stars of the film. It was great. I was up close and personal with Hollywood directors and able to watch how they worked, And
Yeah.
again, I'd never been exposed to it before. Long story short, I decided in rural Northwest Pennsylvania there was not much opportunity for film.
Mm.
Uh, it was, like I said, now that was the end of 2019, and fast forward a few months into 2020, and we're into COVID. So everything was shutting down. I was watching small businesses in my hometown close. I was watching things just. It was almost traumatic, the way that everything, the economy began to crumble.
Mm-hmm.
People were manic and insane, because anyway, I decided I was going to head back to Florida. I just, I traveled for Christmas vacations the prior 3 years, and I was catching the Florida bug again. Now I'm a Pennsylvania boy through and through, I love my mountains and my hills and my wildlife, but I love me some Florida too, So anyway, I decided Florida was the place to be if I was going to pursue my film dream. which at the time I wasn't even sure what it was, but I knew it was. There was something in there that wanted to do that again. You know what I mean? So early on here, I began to join film groups, and I began to rub shoulders with people that were, you know, independent filmmakers, horror filmmakers, you know, a little bit of everything. I just began to throw myself out there, and I'll never forget it. I got the call to be in an extra in a film by a film Secret Society. It's I believe Mayasha is the director, creator. I got to work with Mr. Jeremy Meeks. If I don't know if you recall who that is, the mugshot felon guy. But anyway, I remember approaching Jeremy on the film set and saying, "Mr. Meeks," I says, "I'm a new actor. Do you have any advice for me?" And you know, we chatted for a bit. Okay. So fast forward 6 months, I show up on another film set. Oh, it's Mr. Meeks again.
Oh.
So I run over. It took him a minute. Obviously, he's famous. I'm not. It took him. Thank you, Jeremy Meeks. It was a pleasure working with you, Eddie Soto, everybody on set of Secret Society. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Anyhow, here I am working with Mr. Meeks again, and I'm floored because I'm like, hey, I can go tell him it worked. Yes. It worked. What you told me to do. I'm here. And then a year later, you know, I'm going through some tough times. I'm going to the plasma bank, you know, which I did all through college anyway. So I'm getting into bed at the plasma bank, you know, trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my day, this, that, the other. And I get a text message, and it was production from Secret Society 3. They said, "Hey, we're going to film part 3, and we'd love to have you back." Oh, I was elated. So that was the third encounter with Mr. Meeks. And it was surreal, because at that point it was just like, I looked at myself and I'm like, I don't know how I'm doing this, but I'm doing it. You know, kind of one of those moments. Even looking back right now, it's like that. It's as if, how did all this happen? How did I get where I'm at? Networking, people taking shots on me. You know, I shared on Facebook before we did this video. I says, before I do this video, I want to take a moment and thank everyone that has ever given me a shot. You know, as far as the independent film industry, independent film industry, you're not going to get rich. You know, you're going to have to sacrifice your time, your own money, your resources, but you're going to have, like I do now, you're going to have built a portfolio of experiences that basically learning experiences, because every time I'm on set, I'm like a sponge. I like to watch how everything goes, you know. And to be honest with you,
yeah,
being an actor wasn't even really the first passion. It was just being there. You understand? But when I begin to see how people create stories, and I begin to see how the things people go through when they're having casting calls with the feeling that this is my creation. I need people who are going to come help me bring my creation to life. And that's what got me interested in acting, because I want to read a script. I want to resonate with it. I want to become the character. And then I want to help that creator bring their project to life. So that was my passion, was helping people put wheels on their project. You understand, if that makes sense?
Yes.
And then, so that was the original passion. And again, you know, there's no rhyme nor reason. It's just, you know, I suit up and I show up. I try to explain to everybody it's just like anything else. Any other job you have, you start where you start. and you know, and I've watched a lot of my friends.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends progressively rise up, and they've encouraged me immensely. Heather Fraley, Joe Fernari, Darian McGee. I could go on and on,
Yeah.
you know, but having that example is very encouraging, you know. So I would definitely encourage, if you're looking to get into film, you know, to go through those channels, get yourself, rub shoulders with people that make movies, you know, and just say, hey, I'm here. I don't know much about it, but teach me, you know.
That's teachable.
I have no formal
Mm.
I have no formal training at the moment. You know, I don't look at that as a liability. I have a lot of life experience.
Mhm.
That is an asset, you
Yes.
know, and to be honest, what we discussed before, the look, you
Yes,
know
I
what?
want
I was thinking about it earlier. I was thinking about it earlier. When I was growing up, Juanita, it
to.
got me pushed around. It got me bullied. It got me picked on. And now it's about to get me paid.
I want to tell the audience about the look because this is something that happened. I was talking to Eli Jeffrey Zane. He's also an actor and a stunt choreographer and a stuntman, and he's also going to work in a project with us. And he was actually referring Kris to me for a role, and you
Thank
know
you, Eli.
thank you, Eli. I was talking about this look that Kris has. So now, I'm looking for Kris on Facebook, and I couldn't find because there were other Chris's. So I just wanted to make sure I had the right Kris. Otherwise, I'm gonna message this person out of the blue, and they're gonna be like, "Who are you?" But so Eli sends me a photo of you, Kris, and he says, "Look at that look that he's got." Because guys, Kris is very, very friendly. He's a very kind person. But if he takes off those glasses and he does this look, and I believe I described it to Eli as he looks like that actor from the Terminator movie. Do you remember that actor? His hands turned into aloe. I'm like, that's not, and you've got,
Robert Patrick.
yes, you've got such a scary look. And Eli was like, ah. So, that look is counting for you. Absolutely. And we have an upcoming film. Shout out to SLS. And the upcoming film's name is Marty Murray. And it's going to be an amazing, amazing project that we are going to be doing together. And we just look forward to working, with you guys. And I just want to, I want to commend you on the outlook that you have on life, even after having been through everything. Because a lot of people, it's really a crossroads, Kris. You get to that crossroad and you can decide what you do with your story, and some people go in the entirely wrong direction. They really fall back into things, and others, like you, decide they are going to make it. They're going to show the world, they're going to bring that brilliance to light, they're going to really just pursue. So I commend you on that. And you sharing your story today, it touches the hearts of many, because there are people that are in difficult situations that are going to listen to this, and it's going to speak to them, it's going to save lives. I really feel that we are put on earth to make a difference, a positive difference. And I always tell people, and I've always said it through all the years, the choices that we make is the life that we live. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, nothing that we go through is really about us. It's about what other people see us going through and how we handle that, because that speaks to them. That's a movie. That's a story in its own. And I want to thank you for being on the show. Do you have any shout outs that you want to do before we close our session?
Uh, I could do a lot of shout outs. I'll throw a few names out there. I want to thank Dylan Michael Swan. I want to thank Annette Batiste Day. Of course, Eli Jeffreyson. Thanks, bro. We're fed fresh and clean, brother. Uh, I want to thank Jay Wheeler. I'd like to give a shout out to Damian Chapa, Jeremy Meeks, the people that I've had the privilege to work with, thank you for allowing me to be part of their journey. And just by and large, the entire Florida film industry, I see them doing big things. I see people getting promoted. Now that SAG strike's over, I see people making big moves. I'm very happy for them. Very happy for them. I want to thank everybody again for taking a shot on me, giving me an opportunity. Because, we're all human. We're all in this together, right, wrong, or indifferent. We need to just work together. And the Florida film industry is very tight knit, and we're always running into each other on productions. And, I wouldn't trade any experience I've had here for the world. Just appreciate everybody, my parents, Cheryl Phillips, Ed Roberts, these and those kinds of things. Third grade teacher. No. Anyhow, the story has a happy ending. Okay. We painted a picture throughout this interview, but we got it. There's that saying, there's the good news and there's the bad news. And now that we're at the end, the only bit of bad news about changing yourself is you really have to look at yourself. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, a lot of the problems in my life, I am responsible for, and that's the hardest part of this whole change process that we spent the last hour talking about. Mm-hmm. I had to look at me. I had to stop and look at myself, and it's an ongoing process, but I had to have the courage to say, hey, maybe I'm the problem here. Yeah. And I think that is what really begins to turn tables for people when they stop and they say, hey, maybe some of this is my responsibility. And in order to change that, I have to acknowledge that. So I want to encourage everybody, don't be afraid to look within, because that's where you're going to find your power.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I talking about films and Netflix and series. I'm watching currently a series with my son, and it's called Only Murders in the Building. And there's a podcaster in the series, Cindy Canning, and she says something, and I thought of that when you were talking now. When you were addressing the audience, Kris. She said, "Embrace the mess because the good stuff lives there." Embrace the mess because that's where the good stuff lives. When we start to embrace that mess, like you said, when we look at ourselves and see ourselves for really what we are, what we need to change, man, that's life-changing. So you inspired me so much, my brother. Thank you so much. I had a wonderful interview with you. And stay blessed. We'll be talking soon, and have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you, Juanita, so much for having me, and thank you, everyone, for watching the show.
Bye.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're the #1 fastest growing community and tribe of some of the highest level entrepreneurs all around the country and around the world. We're in 36 states across the U.S., in 11 international countries, and over 240 plus members, growing every single day. And I'm honored, excited, and I'm glad to say that I'm proud to be the official sponsor of the Meticulous Moments podcast with Juanita Kapp. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm excited for this journey.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? Super excited to be here with you today. The name is David Vrablik, and I am the founder and president of New Beginnings Motivation, and we are super excited to announce that we are teaming up and coming alongside to be a sponsor for Meticulous Moments with Juanita Kapp. this was an absolute joy to be able to come and to be able to be a sponsorship with her, not only because I believe in what she's doing and all the powerful moments that she's providing her community and the fact that she's invited me on her show a couple of times, but I'm also excited because she's a part of the family within the New Beginnings Motivation team. And it was a no-brainer when we had this conversation about teaming up with her. And so it is with an extreme honor that myself personally teaming up with Juanita Kapp. So super excited and much love, sister.
Thought-Provoking Change and Jonathan Ellis, the champion maker, are proud sponsors of Meticulous Moments and Juanita Kapp. Head on over now to thoughtprovokingchange.com/opportunity and join us today, where alongside myself, Jonathan Ellis, the champion maker, and our team of highly qualified, incredible individuals will help you pull out the champion within yourself. We're here to bring out the champion that we know lives inside of you, that you may be challenged to manifest and to bring into your forefront. Join us today and align with us to help yourself level up and see what you can bring to the community at large. We're always looking for highly qualified individuals. This is an application-only process, so head on over today, put in your information, and let's communicate, and let's see if you are a fit for us, and we are a fit for you. We look forward to welcoming you inside the community now.
Hey everybody, my name is Patrick Rude. I'm the owner of Rude Financial Services, a proud sponsor of the Meticulous Moments podcast, hosted and directed by the beautiful, strong, and intelligent Juanita Kapp. I cannot tell you enough about what this woman has done with this podcast and the effect that she has had on me and all of the other sponsors and people that listen. Don't miss it.